Travel to Family Travel Podcast,
where we share our favorite tips to make traveling for you and your family fun, easy, and affordable.
This is episode 83, Wisconsin and Minnesota, and this is our first video podcast. So if you're listening to this in audio, we are now posting these as a video on YouTube as well. But you can continue listening to these on audio on your favorite podcast player if that's what you want to do. We just thought that some people might want to be able to watch them on YouTube.
We're going to be talking about the Great Wolf Lodge in Wisconsin Dells and a few other things along the Wisconsin-Minnesota border, especially in the St. Croix area.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Great Wolf Lodge at Wisconsin Dells. So this is the original Great Wolf Lodge, and it's the one that you went to when you were a little girl.
Yeah, so when I was a teenager, we went to Wisconsin Dells for, it was either spring break or a long weekend or something one time. And yeah, I remember it being a lot of fun, and I was able to go with me and my two younger brothers, and then my little sister also came with us.
And we've written blog posts about the Great Wolf Lodge. Maybe there's just one.
Yes, about the one in Colorado that we've been to.
But we wrote one about this one too.
Yeah, and then we've also done a podcast about the Great Wolf Lodge in Colorado as well.
Yep. So if you don't know, there are Great Wolf Lodges, and they are scattered all over the country, but they all have indoor water parks. But the amenities in them, besides the water park, vary from one to one. Well, I guess the water park varies too, in like how much of a water park there is, and if there's part of the water park that's outside sometimes. But they all have at least an indoor water park.
Yeah, so they're all an indoor water park with lodging as well, and they're all like wolf foresty themed.
And the Dells, the Wisconsin Dells, are kind of, it's a town of water parks.
Of water park hotels, yeah.
Yeah, so there's all these water parks there, but we only went to the Great Wolf Lodge while we were there.
So something we really liked about the Great Wolf Lodge here in Wisconsin Dells is that it was significantly bigger than the one that we had been to in Colorado. There were a lot more things. We also went in the summertime instead of the middle of winter, and so they also had the outdoor area open as well. It was really nice to be able to have outside areas, outside time, as well as, I don't know, there was probably 3 main areas indoors as well.
Yeah, at least, because there was like that little kid area, and then there was the area with like the towers, so like kind of that big play structure, and then there was also the area with the big slides. Yeah, the wave pool area was kind of with the big slides.
Yeah.
So it was really big.
It was pretty big, yeah.
It was like the size of an outdoor, like big outdoor water park inside, I felt like.
Yeah. And so we went, Lucy was 3.5 when we went, right?
Yes.
Yes, she was 3.5. And she was big enough to do a lot of the little kid things independently. Not so much. The bigger things she did have to do with an adult, and she wasn't able to do all of the big things, but she was also nervous about some of the big things. But she was able to do quite a bit, and once she got over being scared, she had a really good time and really enjoyed doing the slides.
And some of the slides that were bigger but are not super fast, little kids could ride just with an adult in a double tube. So you ride in a double tube, and she really enjoyed that when she decided to be brave enough to do it. So the water park, obviously the main attraction here, and it was super fun.
Yeah, and we only went for one night, just like we did last time. But something that's neat and nice about the Great Wolf Lodge is that you get water park access the day that you check in and the day that you check out. So especially for us, since we were staying with my parents, we didn't have too far of a drive, and so we were able to spend most of the evening there one night, spend the night, spend most of the morning, like up until the afternoon the next day. That's nice. I feel like it's fun to spend multiple days there, but you don't have to spend multiple days there either.
Yeah. And it was nice to be able to have those 2 days because some things were not open all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes that has to do with like the temperature and the weather, right?
Yeah.
They won't open the outdoor, but some of that has to do with staffing issues. And this was back last summer, and I'm sure staffing issues are even worse now. Staffing issues seem to have gotten worse everywhere. So you might not have had the outdoor pool open if we would only been there for just one of those periods of time.
Yeah.
The day you check in, you only have access, I think, from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something.
Yeah, because that's when you can check in. It's once you're able to check in.
Yeah, so then you have the access. And the lodge itself was really nice. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed the lodge. They didn't have as many activities going on as they sometimes do because of COVID. So there wasn't as much of the activity side of things. So like the crafts that Lucy and I really enjoyed in Colorado going and doing, they just had like take them back to your hotel, smaller kind of crafts that you did. So they still tried to provide some of that. They still did story time. They had social distancing. They had like circles on the floor for each family. They did have an animatronic show in the middle of the lobby area. So I did not enjoy that animatronic show as much as maybe the one in Colorado. But it looked cooler. Like to start with, there was like this clock tower. It was a cooler centerpiece, but the show I didn't think was as good. What else about the lodge area?
We didn't really spend very much time in the lodge this time.
No, they had a couple restaurants. and they had the arcade that was right by the water park. But I think the way it was set up was different than in Colorado, and we compare everything to Colorado because that's the one that we've been to before. But
in Colorado, you had to go through the lobby to get anywhere, whereas here you could go around the lobby to get to where you wanted and needed to go.
Yeah, you actually went like under it, I think, right? Because you had to go down to the lower floor to get to the water park. So it was set up differently, and there were rooms on either side of the lobby instead of all the rooms on one end. Place. Yeah. And so we didn't have to walk through that area as much, which was probably good considering COVID. I know there were a couple restaurants there and an ice cream store and like a gift shop. They did have Build-A-Bear in the gift shop, but it wasn't
its
much.
Own, it wasn't its own like dedicated space like it is in a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, it actually felt more like one of those. We didn't do it, but just looking at it, it felt more like one of those fake Build-A-Bear that you see sometimes places.
That's probably what it was to begin with.
Yeah, it might have originally been one of those. Whereas, like in Colorado, the Build-A-Bear was its own
space.
Own little shop, and it felt more of the thing. But the other reason that I think we weren't passing through as much is Magic Quest was its own building, right? Yeah. It was its own kind of contained experience here. And we didn't do the quest this time. We just did the mini Magi mode with Lucy, so she could run around and light things up with the one that we already had from Colorado.
It was significantly bigger than the one in Colorado, I think.
Well, it was like...
It didn't have other things going on. Like, the one in Colorado had, like, the mini golf and ropes course and, like, other things, like, scattered and mixed in with the Magic Quest. But here, it was just Magic Quest, and it was, like, 3 stories of things that you could do.
So it was much more like a self-contained, like, immersive experience where you were, like, in this tree, like, wooded area and going through and doing all this. So it was probably a better experience on its own, but it didn't cause us to, like, wander through the lodge as much, right? Because we were just there doing our thing. But I thought it was better in terms of, like, theming and that kind of thing. And Lucy really enjoyed it, even though we didn't play the game because we didn't have enough time to do it. We got there like late. But she still really enjoyed running around, and we got to go up multiple levels. And sometimes they had it closed because of COVID, but there's also like part of that area is a play structure too, where you can go down slides and up one of those
like a climbing
net. Yeah. So there was like a lot of things that you could do there that weren't open when we were there, which is pretty typical of travel right now. Okay, so do you just want to kind of give your final opinion on the Great Wolf Lodge in Wisconsin Dells?
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked, especially if you're going for the water park, I feel like the water park there was fantastic. There were tons of things to do. There's something for everybody to do. There's an area for everybody. Even if you don't want to get into the water, there's plenty of like cabanas and shade and things outside that you can get to.
Yeah, and I really liked it. I think the Great Wolf Lodge is a really good experience overall. The 2 times that we've been there, I think they do a good job. And I will be putting together a vlog, which will go up on the YouTube channel for this trip. I'm just a little bit behind on editing. It's a little bit late, but it is the next one to do.
Yeah. So where my parents live in Minnesota is kind of close to the Minnesota-Wisconsin border. And so we have been able to do quite a few things that have been like right along that border that have been pretty fun. So over the last few times that we've been there, we've been able to kind of take some time and explore and do a few new things. And most of these, like we mentioned at the top of the show, is in the St. Croix, Taylor Falls area, if you're familiar with that area or you're heading there. One of the main things that Ben and I did was we went to the Franconia Sculpture Garden. Yeah. And this is a really cool, like, outdoor sculpture garden. It's really large.
It's like acres and acres of space with sculptures that are
huge,
right? Yeah. These are not just, like, statues.
They're, like, big, like, immersive sculptures in a lot of cases. And it's kind of weird, but
it's definitely artsy, right?
Yeah,
like,
definitely
like
artsy.
It is an artsy place. That's what it intends to be. They have like artists in residence there. Yeah. They bring sculptures that are done by artists all over the world, I think.
Yeah, it's a very big deal, like in the art community. Yeah. It's really cool, and it really is just like off the side of the road, just in a big open field.
Yeah, and then you just like wander.
You just wander around.
It doesn't cost anything, and you just like wander through it. I don't know if there are like a couple of buildings kind of there at the front. I don't know if there's normally something open, but during COVID there definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the sculptures you just look at, but some of them are interactive. Some of them are closed because of COVID, but you can actually go inside them. Some of them I think are there permanently. Some of them will probably move. We actually first noticed, well, I mean you can't really not notice it, but we really noticed it because there were some sculptures there that had been at BYU previously. These really big like pixel art metal block sculptures. They'd all been at BYU, and now I think there's just like one at BYU, and then there were several of them here in Franconia. So definitely worth stopping at. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can go wander around for however much time you want. Good place to kind of, if you're in the area, let your kids kind of run. Yeah. Because they can. It's not the kind of art that they can really harm.
Yeah. So another thing we did in that area that was really fun, Ben and I just went by ourselves. My mom watched Lucy for us. And we went to Wild Mountain, which is in the wintertime, it's a ski hill. And in the summertime, it's a water park. And like they have an alpine slide and go-karts. And it's just like a fun like summer park to go to.
Yeah. So we went there summer of 2020.
Mm-hmm. We got a Groupon deal to go there. I think that's why we chose to go there.
Yeah. And they have quite a few slides. I feel like they had probably like 6 slides.
Yeah.
And then they've got like
Lazy River
kid
with a kid play area.
And
it was very cold. The water was cold.
Yeah. But it was summer in Minnesota, so it was pretty hot.
Nice.
And they have a lot of picnic area. They encourage people to like bring barbecues and stuff there. Yep. We didn't, but they encourage people to. And then they have, like you said, the other activities, which we did the alpine slide and the go-karts. The free fall was closed.
Yeah, the alpine slides were really fun. I'd never done an alpine slide before, so this was my first one, but I really, really enjoyed it. They were super fun to do.
If you've never been on an alpine slide, it's kind of like a cement like channel running down the mountain, and you sit on a wheeled sled and you ride it down, and you have like a brake control, so you can. It was a fun time though, and the go-karts were okay. I lost my hat there, but I got it back. Unlike you when you lost your hat, we didn't get it back. That was in Arches.
So that was just a fun like day activity. We're glad we got the Groupon. Not something that you like have to do, but if you're looking for something to do in the area, we thought it was pretty fun. It didn't seem too crowded the day that we were there, I don't think.
And we were staying outside of St. Paul, so it's not that far.
Yeah, it wasn't
like
that
an
far.
hour or something outside of St. Paul, I think.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is something that I really enjoyed and Lucy really enjoyed. Ben did
not enjoy it at all. I never enjoy it when we do these things.
I know, but your daughter loves them and you love her. So
I know.
You sacrifice for her.
Yeah.
So the place we went is called Fondo Rosa.
I mean, I do enjoy a pun. But
so it's this wildlife park in Wisconsin that you can just go in and walk around and see the animals, and there's a bunch of animals that just walk around and you can feed them, and they have a ton of these like domesticated deer that just walk around. They're super, super cute. And
if you like deer.
They have lots of fun animals. Not all of them walk around. There's some that are like in cages.
And are maybe a little bit more exotic. Though not super exotic.
Not that exotic. But
they're not like lions or tigers or anything.
Right.
But there was like an Arctic fox.
Yeah, and there were porcupines and foxes and
an otter.
And reindeer. So they have kind of like, I don't know, like foresty type of animals in one area, and then kind of on the other side are more like farm animals. And so they had like llamas and goats and lambs and pigs, and I think they had cows and horses and chickens and just lots of animals. And again, some of them are free ranging, some of them are like behind fences. When you buy your tickets to enter, you can also buy food, which are like these little pellets that you can just go and feed the animals as you wander around. So it was a lot of fun. It doesn't take a ton of time to do, but Lucy and I really enjoyed it. We thought it was fun.
There are similar places around. Like in Arizona, we went to Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah.
That was more farm animals, but same kind of. I think they were using the same like grass pellets to feed.
Yeah. To feed the animals.
The animals, and Lucy really liked that they had lots of places to take your picture.
Yes.
Like holes
like
to
the
look
face
through.
cutout things.
She liked that a lot. And then the last thing in this area that we wanted to talk about was Interstate Park, and it's called Interstate Park because it's actually 2 parks that touch each other, one in Wisconsin and one in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. We went to the Minnesota side, and you can go do like some hiking along the river there. We went to...
You can canoe and kayak up and down the river.
Oh yeah.
You can do tours with that.
Mm-hmm. And there was just a little hike that we did. We didn't spend a lot of time there, but it was called the potholes, right? And so there's these natural potholes that exist that fill up with water and grow like moss and stuff inside them. And it was pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty. This is also
hike.
A place where you can rock climb. Apparently we saw quite a few people rock climbing, bouldering, I guess.
Yep. I did not have any shoes or mats with me, so we did not rock climb.
I feel like there's tons of places like that in Wisconsin and Minnesota that are just like nice little outdoor parks. Not like play structure parks, but just like nature parks that you can just go
there's so
walk around and
so many state parks in Minnesota.
If you're a Minnesota resident, you can buy a pass for your car that can get you into the state parks.
So fun. And all of those things that we just talked about in the St. Croix area are all located within like 2 to 5 miles of each other.
Yeah.
Like they're
Ponderosa might be a little bit farther out, but
oh yeah, because you have to go.
But they're all like within I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
So they're all pretty close.
Yep. And there was that place we ate at. What was it called? The
I
drive-in?
can't remember. There's like a drive-in place.
And they had really good root beer and corn dogs and stuff. And that will wrap up this episode of Yellow Van Travels, a family travel podcast. Make sure that you follow us online. You can find us on our blog at yellowvantravels.com and on Twitter at yellowvantravel.
You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Yellow Van Travels. And if you liked this episode or found it helpful, please consider sharing it with your friends and family. Also consider leaving us a review wherever you're listening. It really helps our community grow. Happy travels. Bye.
See ya.